5 signs that you're burnt out and you don't even know it. Hey guys, welcome back to After the Rush, where we're here to help restaurant professionals build healthier lives, stronger finances, better relationships, and ultimately sustainable careers. My name is Jeremy Armstrong, former chef, now server slash bartender, and today we're going to talk about something that affects almost everyone in the industry at some point in time: burnouts. Now, we have talked about this in one of our last videos, but we're just going to get just a little bit deeper into it because I think this is one of the most important topics that we could talk about because it just affects so much in our lives. Everything from, our health, it affects our relationships, and it just affects so much more quality of life, everything. And I just want to hopefully give someone, some tips and pointers and maybe things that they could recognize and not go down some of the same routes that a lot of us have gone down, and it's too late to turn back from. So we're gonna get into it, you guys. Burnouts, as I mentioned, they don't just they just don't affect how tired we are. They affect everything: our health, relationships, our life. We tell ourselves we're just tired. We tell ourselves that we just need a vacation. We tell ourselves that when things slow down, after the next holiday, after the promotion. But you guys, we work in a fucking restaurant. We work in the hospitality industry. Things, depending on your position, things don't really fucking slow down, guys. You guys know that there's always some type of call out. There's always something to do. There's an event. There's a party. There's something. Even in the slow season, there's always going to be something to do. Especially like if you're in one of those manager positions or hours as chef, sous chef, whatever it is. Because usually when it's slow season, we're covering shit. We're covering shifts. We're doing all kinds of extra shit as a manager. But burnouts, they don't really work that way, guys. Like I spent my, I spent 20 years plus working in restaurants, and I've worked all the doubles. I've worked all the holidays, all the weekends, I missed all the family dinners and all the family functions. I pushed through the exhaustion because I thought that it's just what successful people had to do. I thought that's what we had to do to be a good chef, and for years I wore that shit like a badge of honor, like I talked about in one of my last videos, that we celebrate that. I thought that if I was tired and exhausted, that I was just committed. I thought that sacrificing myself proved how much I cared. I was dead ass fucking wrong, guys. Like looking back, there were plenty of warning signs that I just didn't like care about. I didn't care to recognize. I just ignored them. And maybe you'll recognize some of these signs, for yourself. So we're just gonna get right into it, guys. Sign number one is you become someone that you don't like. For me, burnouts first showed up as irritability. Little things like another ticket rang in, someone had a simple ass question, customer complaint, server rang in the wrong ticket again, again and again. Not as fucking servers. You guys know you guys be ringing, fucking up food and tickets and all that. So, anyways, I found myself just basically getting irritated and mad about things that normally wouldn't bother me. But here's what hurt the most, you guys, is realizing that the people who felt it weren't the guests, they weren't the coworkers, they were actually the people at home waiting for me, the people that love me, my spouse, my kids, my family, my loved ones, the people who deserve the best version of me, but they got what was left of me. And that shit is wrong. Burnouts have a way of just making the people you love pay the price for the stress that you're carrying. And that is just a formula for disaster, especially in relationships, guys. Like you can't do that. You got to do better. So recognize that sign. Sign number two is you're always exhausted. I'm not talking about like being tired after a busy Saturday night. I'm talking about like the kind of exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix. You wake up tired, go to work tired, you come home fucking tired. Your days off are just recovering days instead of actually living. You're just laying around, just, oh, I'm just gonna rest today. I remember getting home and just sitting in silence because I had nothing left. No energy, no motivation, just no excitement, nothing, just enough left to make it to the next fucking shift. And after a while, that starts to feel normal. So that was sign number 2 is exhaustion. You're just feeling exhausted. Sign number 3 is you stop loving what you once loved. This one kind of scared me because I love the restaurants. I love the hospitality. I love serving people. I love, creating new experiences and new dishes and, creating new menu items. But there was a season where even walking into the kitchen felt heavy. The passion was still there, but it was just buried underneath like stress and being tired and all the fucking pressure that comes along with it. Burnout has a way of convincing you that you've fallen out of love with your career, but sometimes like the truth is that you just fallen out of balance. Sign number 4 is you pull away from people. Burnout doesn't just isolate you physically, they isolate you emotionally. You stop calling for friends, or you stop calling friends, you stop making plans, you just tell everybody you're busy, you stop taking care of your wife the way that she needs to get taken care of, and, taking her out on dates and, just being that husband for her or vice versa with your husband. You stop caring about him, but deep down you tell everybody that you're busy, but you're just really just empty. I remember sitting in the same room, as I talked about in the last video, was sitting in the same room, but my mind was somewhere else. I was thinking about tomorrow's problems. I was thinking about labor, schedule, inventory, all that shit, and the fucking day hasn't even happened yet. I was physically present, but emotionally absent. And that is another just key to disaster, in your life. And people around me that they could feel that shit, So sign number 5 would be surviving instead of living. This is probably one of the biggest ones as well. Like somewhere along the way, I stopped asking myself why I was working so hard. I was chasing promotions again and just having more responsibilities and I just needed more success, more money. You always need more money, but I stopped asking myself whether the life I was building actually matched the life I wanted. And that's when burnouts become dangerous, because survival quietly becomes your lifestyle. You just wake up, work, come home, sleep. Wake up, work, come home, sleep. Like repeat. Weeks become months, months become years. And before you know it, like life is passing by while you're waiting for things to slow the fuck down. It's not gonna happen. But here's what scared me the most about burnouts is it's not the exhaustion, it's not the stress, it's not even the long hours. The scariest part is that burnout slowly changes who you are. It changes your patience, it changes your attitude, it changes your joy. It changes how you love people. It changes how you parent, how you husband, how you wife, how you lead. And it happens fucking slowly, like little by little, nick by nick, until one day, maybe they were telling you this all along, but one day for some reason it clicks and someone tells you, probably a loved one, someone that you probably should have been listening to all along. They tell you that you changed. You need something, you need help, you need something, but you're not that same person. And instead of arguing with them, you quietly realize that they're right. I've had moments where I looked in the mirror and I didn't recognize the man staring back at me, not because I looked different, but because I felt different. My soul and spirit was different. I wasn't as patient. I wasn't present. I wasn't joyful. I wasn't living. I was just barely surviving. And survival became my lifestyle. I thought I was providing. I thought I was doing what a man's supposed to be doing and, working hard for my family and just sacrificing more, and just keep pushing and do more. But this is the truth, is the people who love you, they don't just need your paycheck. They need they need you. They need you. They need your laugh. They need your conversations. Like they need your attention, your full on attention, your peace. That's what they need. That's what's gonna make sustainable lifestyle and relationships. Your presence. They because burnouts, they follow you home. Your family goes to work with you. Without ever stepping foot in the restaurant, your family is there with you. And that realization hit me hard, harder than anything else, for sure, especially in these past like year and a half or so, 2 years. Um, I had to ask myself like some very hard questions that I avoided, and maybe I just didn't know what the questions were, but I had to ask myself some questions. Am I becoming the father I want my kids to remember? Am I becoming the man I promised myself I become? Am I the man that I was to my wife in the beginning? Am I that person? Am I still providing for her? Am I building a successful career while losing myself in the process? Those questions changed my life, and that's where eventually led me to step away from being a chef. That's one of the biggest reasons was because of those questions that I answered for myself. Was I wasn't being that person. I realized that I had to start loving myself enough to make different decisions, and I wanted to be healthier. I wanted to be more available for my kids, more available for my spouse. Just being there, more intentional. And I like that word intentional. And shout out to the person that gave me that mindset of being intentional, because the past year or so, like that has been my main thing, was being very intentional with what I'm doing in my life right now, not just for me but for the people who matter the most. And the good news is, guys, is burnouts, they aren't who we are. It's just where we are. Run that back. Burnouts aren't who we are. They are just where we are. And we could get out of it. It's just a moment in our life. But we choose to stay in it for the time period. We could choose to stay in it for a long time or for a small time. And where you are today doesn't have to be where you stay. I like that one too. Where you are today doesn't have to be where you stay. You're not weak. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You've just been carrying more than most people realize, maybe even more than what you realized. And you've been carrying it for too long. And that's why I created After the Rush, because nobody taught us how to recover. Nobody taught us how to recover from a burnout or to recognize signs. Nobody taught us how to protect our mental health. Nobody taught us how to build a successful career without sacrificing ourselves in the process. We're gonna have these tough conversations. We're gonna talk some real shit, because the goal isn't just to survive the rush. The goal is to have a life after the rush. So tonight's challenge, you guys. Tonight's challenge is, so before I let you go, I want you guys to do one thing for me tonight is find 10 quiet minutes, no phone, no distractions, no TV, none of that shit. And it's just you, sit with you and your thoughts. Shout out to that person who gave me this too. Sit with just you and your thoughts and ask yourself these 3 questions. Who am I becoming? Is this the life I truly want? If nothing changes, where would my life be 5 years from now? Those 3 questions changed my life, and so just reiterate. Who am I becoming? Is this the life I truly want? If nothing changes, where will I be 5 years from now? These questions hit deep, like it's some serious questions that you need to ask yourself. They might change your life just like they changed my life. So if anything in this video resonated with you guys, if you guys like what you guys hear, or you guys actually felt it and know what I'm talking about, then subscribe, like the video. We're building something bigger than just a YouTube channel, guys. I want to build like an actual real community to where we can have conversations and talk some real shit and actually give each other tools and not just have the problems, but solutions for the problems. This is for hospitality workers who want to have healthier lives, stronger relationships, better leadership, and then a future that they could actually enjoy. So again, you guys, remember, you spend your life taking care of guests. It's time we start taking care of yourselves. Take care of your body. Take care of your mind. Take care of your loved ones. Take care of your wife. Men, take care of your wife. Trust me, we need them. Women, take care of your husband. You need them. And just remember that the rush always ends, but the growth is just the beginning. Thanks, guys, for joining me. I'll see you guys after the rush.